A further 2 miles on, we arrive at Pittenweem, the only village in the East Neuk that still boasts a lively fishing fleet and a working harbour. A fish market is held here every weekday morning, and buyers appear to trade, then vans transport the catch throughout Scotland. This is a wonderful place for seafood restaurants. We headed west from the High Street and round to the West Braes. The row of whitewashed fishermen's cottages lined along the west shore are breathtaking, and sitting at the end, at right angles, is Rock House. The west shore is a wonderful walk. A wonderful mix of ancient houses tumble down towards the harbour in a riot of colour. Coves and wynds add to the scene. This is Cove Wynd, and about halfway down, tucked into a corner, is St Fillan's Cave. This is the cave that Pittenweem is called after. It means place of the cave. The little cluster of atmospheric buildings in this corner are called the Giles. The largest house here, Giles House, belonged to a Captain Cook who once helped Charles II escape to France after an unsuccessful battle. Crail, about 5 miles east from Pittenweem, is the last of the East Neuk fishing villages. Its curved little harbour is one of the most photographed Scottish scenes. In the 12th century, Crail was granted royal borough status, allowing it to trade overseas, the first East Neuk village to do so. As we approached the harbour, the crew of a small fishing boat were coming ashore. The large white custom house dominates the scene. Crail is a typical working harbour with piles of lobster pots at the harbour side. Crail dates back to at least the 7th century. Out in the bay, a fishing boat, surrounded by seagulls, was busy at work hauling in the fish and the seafood that would grace the many tables of the local cafes and restaurants when serving their evening meals. We finish our trip to Fife at Anstruther, where we spent the night. This fascinating little town is the largest of the East Neuk villages. At the east end of Anstruther's busy seafront, a little road leads off to the right, changing its name from James Street to John Street to George Street on its narrow winding way. At the end of this narrow canyon-like street is a hidden jewel, the East Neuk's hidden harbour, Cellardyke. It was at one time the second most important harbour in Scotland. The harbour with its outer breakwater is bounded on 3 sides by houses. At the far end is Harbourside, with 3 attractive cottages, linking the main route through the village to the far pier. Prior to the 16th century, the village was known as Skinfast Haven, and that's how it still appears in most maps. The washing is still dried along the harbour side. This part of Cellardyke looks as if it has changed very little in the last 400 years. We negotiated the narrow atmospheric road back to Anstruther. It was a bit quieter now. We decided to try out the award-winning fish suppers from the Anstruther Fish Bar, the current holder of the UK Fish and Chip Shop of the Year. The last time we were here, the queue was out the door, along the front and right up an alley at the side of the shop. It wasn't just as busy this time, and yes, the fish supper was very good indeed. Anstruther Harbour is now predominantly a marina for pleasure craft. We parked the car at the Crow's Nest Hotel at the west end of the bay, then decided to go for a stroll. It was a balmy July evening. As we were about to leave, a little boat came into view. It was probably the last Isle of May cruise ship returning to port. We headed back up to Shore Road and made our way towards the harbour side. Then down a dimly lit Mariner's Wynd, and we arrived at the harbour. The waterfront, sitting at the middle of the east shore, is another excellent restaurant. We headed up around the Fisherman's Museum, then back onto the harbour side. We made our way across to the ship's tavern for a refreshment and to reflect on our memories of a wonderful trip to the Kingdom of Fife.